November 2022. The crypto world freezes. In the span of 48 hours, a $32 billion empire evaporates into thin air. It wasn't a market crash. It wasn't a hack. It was a liquidation of reality. The offices were empty, but the screens were screaming in red. A hurricane was forming outside, but the real storm was inside the servers. One click, that's all it took. $10 billion gone. The coffee hadn't even gone cold before the numbers hit zero. The Golden Tower didn't just fall, it melted. The code that held up the world was dissolving right in front of their eyes. This wasn't a bank heist with masks and guns. There were no getaway drivers. Just a group of 20-somethings in a Bahamas penthouse. Staring at a laptop, realizing the game was over. Welcome to Heist Stories. To understand the crime, you have to understand the costume. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't look like a Wall Street crook. He drove a Toyota Corolla. He slept on a beanbag chair. He played League of Legends during pitch meetings with Sequoia Capital. It was the perfect disguise, the effective altruist. He told the world he only wanted to get filthy rich so he could give it all away to charity. He was the Robin Hood of the digital age. But Robin Hood didn't live in a $40 million penthouse. And Robin Hood didn't treat customer deposits like his personal piggy bank. The messy hair, the shorts, the stutter. It wasn't just quirkiness, it was branding. And it worked. The media ate it up. Politicians loved him. Investors threw billions at him without asking to see the books. And while they were looking at the eccentric genius on the magazine cover, nobody was looking at the code. But before the penthouse, there was the hustle. It started with something called the Kimchi Premium. This was Sam's first magic trick. He realized that Bitcoin cost 10% more in Korea and Japan than it did in the US. It was an arbitrage opportunity. Buy Bitcoin in America, sell it in Asia, pocket the difference, repeat. It was free money. Millions of dollars a day moving through the banking system like a ghost. But arbitrage is hard work. You have to move money across borders. You have to deal with regulations. Sam didn't want to do the work. He wanted a machine that did it for him. That is why he built Alameda Research. It wasn't a research firm. It was a gambling den designed to capture every inefficiency in the market. But when the inefficiencies dried up, he needed a new source of cash. And he found it in the pockets of his own customers. Here is how the machine was supposed to work. You deposit your money into FTX. You buy Bitcoin or Solana or FTT. That money sits there, safe in a vault, until you want to cash out. That is how an exchange works. But FTX wasn't just an exchange. It was a piggy bank for Sam's other company, Alameda Research. Alameda was a hedge fund, a gambling operation run by Sam's inner circle. They made risky bets on crypto tokens that had no value, and when those bets went south, they needed cash to cover the losses. Where do you get billions of dollars in cash when the banks won't touch you? You take it from the customers. This is the smoking gun, the heist mechanic. In the code of FTX, buried deep where auditors wouldn't look, was a special setting, a God mode for Alameda Research. If you or I traded on FTX and lost money, our account would be liquidated. The system would automatically sell our assets to protect the exchange. But Alameda? They were exempt. They had a secret backdoor that allowed them to go negative. Not just a little negative. Billions of dollars negative. They could borrow unlimited funds from FTX customers without putting up any collateral. It was an infinite money glitch. Sam didn't need to break into the vault. He owned the vault.
To run a scam this big, you need believers. Or accomplices. Enter Caroline, the CEO of Alameda Research and Sam's on-again, off-again girlfriend. She wasn't a qualified CEO. She was a math nerd who wrote Harry Potter fan fiction. In her own diary, she wrote about feeling imposter syndrome and how she wasn't cut out for the job. Then there was Nishad, director of engineering, and Gary Wang, the coder who built the backdoor. They all lived together in that $40 million penthouse. Rumors of polyamory, drug use, and a complete lack of corporate structure swirled around them. It was a cult. Sam was the leader, and they were the disciples willing to jump off the cliff for him. And when the time came, he pushed them off first. So, what do you buy with $10 billion of stolen money? Everything. You buy real estate, $300 million in Bahamas property for parents and friends. You buy influence. Sam became the second largest donor to the Democratic Party, right behind George Soros. He spent millions lobbying, shaking hands with regulators, helping write the very laws that were supposed to stop people like him. You buy fame. The FTX Arena in Miami, the Super Bowl commercials with Larry David, the patch on the umpire's uniform in Major League Baseball. Every time you saw that blue FTX logo, you were looking at stolen money. It was a masterclass in fake it till you make it. If you spend enough money, nobody questions where it came from. But the most dangerous thing they bought was their own hype. The entire empire rested on a token called FTX. Sam printed FTX out of thin air. He controlled the supply, so he could control the price. He gave it a high value and then used it as collateral to borrow real dollars from other lenders. It works great, as long as the price of FTX stays up. But FTX had no real value. It was a magic bean, a digital coupon for a casino that was already bankrupt. And the moment the market realized that, the castle would fall. November 2nd, 2022, the beginning of the end. A leaked balance sheet from Alameda Research hits the internet. The world sees the truth. Alameda isn't rich. It's broke. Its assets are all just FTT tokens. Then, the fatal blow. CZ, the CEO of Binance and Sam's biggest rival, tweets that he is selling all his FTT. It was the digital equivalent of shouting, "Fire!" in a crowded theater. Panic. Billions of dollars in withdrawal requests flood in. Everyone wants their money back at the same time. In a normal bank, this is a problem. In a Ponzi scheme, it is a death sentence. Because the money wasn't there. Sam had spent it. For 48 hours, Sam tried to hold it together. He tweeted, "FTX is fine. Assets are fine." It was a lie. Behind the scenes, he was begging investors for a bailout. He was looking for one last sucker to fill the $10 billion hole. But nobody was buying. The final hours inside the penthouse were pure chaos. Sam is on the phone with investors in the Middle East, begging for $1 billion. He's on the phone with Apollo Global Management, trying to sell the company for pennies. But every time an investor looked at the books, they ran. November 11th. Game over. FTX files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Sam steps down. The effective altruist had effectively wiped out the savings of millions of people. Teachers, retirees, kids investing their allowance. All gone. The boy genius was just a common thief. The fall was faster than the rise. Arrested in the Bahamas, extradited to New York. The trial was a spectacle, but the outcome was never in doubt. His friends, Caroline, Gary, Nishad, they all flipped. They took the stand and told the jury everything about the backdoors, the bribes, and the lies. Sam tried to talk his way out of it on the stand, but you can't gaslight a jury when the math doesn't add up. Guilty on all 7 counts. 110 years facing him. A life sentence for a lifestyle that lasted less than 3 years. He wanted to be a historical figure, and he succeeded. He will be remembered forever, not as the next Warren Buff,